Your passion does not automatically translate to value. And the reason why it doesn't automatically translate to value is actually that your passion means absolutely nothing if nobody's eventually going to pay for it, right? Your passion is essentially internal, value is external. So what that means is actually that when your values are external, it means that people appreciate whatever you're doing in that sense, and then they can be able to part ways with their hard-earned money. The passion trap creates this binary thinking. Passion trap. What this means is actually that the people who created your passion myth, follow your passion and all of that, what they're essentially saying is actually that if you don't follow your passion, then you are essentially doomed for problems, which is not true. Hey, I'm picking up this job and I'm going to be very good at it. You create passion by competence. So, if you've gotten to this point, I would just want you to subscribe and then give us a like, because I think you're getting value from this. And if you eventually love it, you should share to your friends and your community. So the first point really about trying to understand if that particular advice about passion is really this. Number one, your passion does not automatically translate to value. And the reason why it doesn't automatically translate to value is actually that your passion means absolutely nothing if nobody's eventually going to pay for it, right? Just because you love painting doesn't mean I'm obliged to buy something from you in which there is a transfer of economic value, or just because you like doing poetry doesn't mean I should listen to you. I might not even like listening to poetry. The same applies to every kind of passion you might have, right? Just because you love children doesn't mean I have to pay you to take care of my children, right? So your passion, first of all, doesn't immediately transfer to economic value. That's the first thing. The second thing is actually that I want you to look at it from this standpoint. Your passion is essentially internal, value is external. So what that means is actually that when your values are external, it means that people appreciate whatever you're doing in that sense, and then they can be able to part ways with their hard-earned money for you. But your passion is internal. So when your passion is internal, you are consistently struggling to make it external, such that you want to make it to a point where people really value whatever passion you have, and then you can make it into money. Don't get me wrong. The point is not that you can't make your passion into money, but passion automatically doesn't translate to value. And the last point is actually that when you see a painter that paints for fun, that paints for passionate purposes, you see them create what they have envisioned themselves. You see them build masterpieces out of what has been going on in their brain, right? But when you have to do this for money, then you are confined to the customer's direction. You are confined to what the customer wants. And when you start doing something for pressure and financial constraint because you actually need the money, especially something you love, then you start resenting it. When you do what you love for money, when there is pressure attached to it, you're not building out what you've envisioned, then it can really be daunting. And then at that point, you can begin to resent your passion just because you are trying to force your passion into economic value, or you're trying to force it to make it your source of financial income. The second point is actually what I call the passion trap creates this binary thinking. Passion trap shakes hand, you know that emoji with binary thinking. And what this means is actually that the people who created your passion myth thing, follow your passion and all of that. And what they're essentially saying is actually that if you don't follow your passion, then you are essentially doomed for problems, which is not true, right? Because humans are really adaptable. We can find satisfaction and purpose in whatever thing we actually decide to do. Because I know developers who eventually started coding just because of the amount of money that you could get from it. And on the road, while they were coding, they eventually fell in love with solving very complex problems. And that is the point, right? The point is actually that you do not essentially need, because you do not essentially need to start because you need passion to eventually give you that permission to start. You just have to start based on different kinds of categories of skills or of needs based on what you want, right? And that is the problem and the major flaw, a very big flaw when it comes to the passion wagon, right? Follow your passion or you are doomed to this or you are doomed to that. Another thing that they eventually think about and consistently tell us is actually that if you don't do what you're really passionate about, must mean one thing, and it's that the other job you're actually taking or whatever you're doing in your career you must essentially hate it, right? And when you hate it, you have to do cranky job, you can't be excellent at it and all of that. And that leads me again to what I said the last time. You do not have to have a job that carries that much burden, right? It doesn't make any sense, right? You do not have to essentially love your job. It's the only thing in the universe that you want to do. What you just essentially have to do is that, hey, I'm picking up this job and I'm going to be very good at it. You create passion by competence, right? Which we're still going to talk about very well. You create passion by competence, and then you essentially start to love it. When I started advanced analytics, I do geospatial technology and the advanced side of it, right? It's not that I loved numbers that much, but I knew that, okay, quite a number of people do not want to do machine learning and the math behind it, and I decided to make that move. It's not because I have passion for it, and I think I'm doing very fine, right? And I've come to a point where I absolutely love what I do and I want to do it again. So again, it traps you in binary thinking to say that it's either this or it's either this, when you can begin to make your decisions on a wide spectrum based on skills, based on remuneration, based on how fluid it makes you live life, based on how much time you have. So hey, it's time to eventually shun the binary thinking that comes with the passion myth, and then evaluate your career decisions based on a whole lot of wider evaluate your career decision on a wider spectrum than just, if it's not this, then it has to be this. So the third and final point is that passion follows skill, and it's not the other way around. Now, we've had this whole process backwards, such that there is a passion first approach, and what that tells us is actually that there is a pre-existing code that you're waiting to discover. And research has actually shown that it doesn't work like that for most people. We discussed this eventually when we discussed about purpose, where I said you should stop searching for purpose. You can eventually watch the video here. And there is something major that I want you to understand, and it's actually called the competence loop. What psychologists call the competence loop is actually that you pick a particular skill, you learn it, you make progress, you enjoy and love the feeling of progress. We discussed about dopamine too. You enjoy it, and then you show up again, and then you have another amount of progress, and then you continue it, and then you find it very wonderful, and then the cycle continues till you become an expert. One thing that tells us is actually that passion follows competence. It's not the other way around, and that's how it's meant to be, right? To be very honest, and the passion advice, follow your passion advice, is so dangerous. And you know why it's dangerous? It's dangerous because people start waiting for something to happen, right? They believe their better life is on the other hand when they find passion and all of that, rather than them sitting up, developing skills that matter in the modern economy, and then they start creating their opportunities themselves, right? Which is what should be my goal. I shouldn't just sit somewhere and then essentially expect that somebody's going to create the life I want for me when I'm not in fact creating it. So again, this is not for you to give up on fulfillment, right? Fulfillment is in what you do, is in how you do it, is in how much quality of work you bring to the table and how much people appreciate what you do. And you are never going to get that when everything you're following based on your career advice or things you heard from renowned people is actually that you should just follow your passion. There are times that we just have to do some hard things to eventually get to that point where you really value what you do and now you're passionate about what you do. Imagine someone who was in engineering, right? Never did anything about finance in school and all of that. And then at the end of the day, you see many of them taking ICANN courses or ACCA, and then they become very, very good at it. Is it passion or is it what they really have interest in, right? So again, the point is build yourself. And then when you build yourself, it's not passion first. Passion always follows competence. So as usual, it's actually journal time, and I want you to write some of these questions and you can answer it yourself. The first one is, what skills do you currently have that other people find valuable? Not your passion. For me, I have quite a number of them. I write Python, I write SQL, I do machine learning, I write, I speak, and yeah, those are some of the things that I want you to write. I want you to list everything. Obviously, there are certain things that I've not said. That's the first one. Then the second one is, what I have here is actually that you should look at the problems around you and see how it can be solved. But hey, that's if you probably want to build something from scratch. If you're not building anything from scratch, you're going to be well off identifying firms that need what you do, and then you can posture as someone who is good at it because you're good at it, right? And then you apply it to them because you can now work in a structured environment where you can get to learn about the ropes of how things are done. And then what will a satisfying work life look like? Not just what you want. What are the things that you know that this represents a very good work life, right? How it stretches you, how it makes you position yourself for the future. And again, just to finally say that again, your passions are valid. You should have passions, but it's after you can pay rent, it's after you're not really under pressure that you can really explore your passion. When you're eventually good at what you have, and then you're very liquid in terms of finances, you can eventually explore your passion. You love children, you love this, you love giving people money, you love this, you can eventually explore them. But I want you to tell me in the comment section, by this time I know you must have subscribed, I want you to tell me, what's that passion that you have that you know that it has to wait because it doesn't translate to economic value yet? For me, it's probably genuinely loving people and see them succeed. I don't know how that would eventually translate straight to economic value. Maybe this is a shot at it, but let me hear yours in the comment section. Till we all win. See you again in the next video.